good evening, everyone. It is Friday, July 10th, and we are tracking some strong storms working their way through southern Illinois. Apologize for being a little out of breath. I actually was at a different event and ended up running home, literally, to try to break in because there is some concern with this storm that's moving in right now as it makes its way through Perry, and a new severe thunderstorm warning that was just issued for parts of Williamson and Jackson counties as well. So this is what we're tracking here this afternoon, and I guess into this evening now, as we are going to be watching some pretty strong storms working through. So twofold concern here this evening. We are concerned with, yes, we may see a few storms that have some strong straight line winds, such as the one we're tracking right now. Additionally, we could also see some extremely heavy rainfall here as we head into the evening hours. Really, at this point, I really think that the wind threat is number one, and then the threat for potentially seeing some significant flooding here this evening is threat number two. So again, kind of breaking in, I wanted to show you just kind of what we're watching here right now. New severe thunderstorm warnings have just now been issued. That does include Campbell Hill and Ava, Elkville, all the way to Murfreesboro, and Carbondale is actually in the new severe thunderstorm warning. But let's go ahead and look real quick at what we're looking at here, and I'm trying to get a better view of this. See if we can get a brighter view of this. There is some extremely strong, that red that you see there is actually winds that are getting picked up close to 60 miles per hour. So very strong winds possibly with this one, especially right now as it's heading between, we'll say, DuQuoin and Dowell. So this is getting ready to approach Highway 51. Really, some of the strongest winds are probably going to end up being just south of DuQuoin. Again, we're kind of talking about the northern part of Jackson County and then the far southern part or the southeastern part of Perry County. So there's DuQuoin right here. Turn that off here real quick. And here's Dowell. So if you're familiar with this area, right now some of the strongest winds really just pushing from the south side of DuQuoin, we'll say from about the fairgrounds, south towards Dowell, and then Elkville. So those are the areas right along 51 right now seeing some of the strongest winds. I was actually a little surprised that they took this warning as far south as they did, but I'll show you why they did that, and that's because this thing is kind of moving to the south and east. So again, that's the big concern right now is that we're going to be seeing this, and I will tell you that even though you're not in a warning, folks in, say, Benton, over towards West Frankfort, I would say get ready. This storm means business. It's going to pack a punch as it moves through the area here over the next couple of hours. So again, new severe thunderstorm warning has been plotted in for Jackson County. It does include parts of Williamson County now in that as well. So Heron to Craneville, Culp, Hurst, Royalton, basically right up 148 over towards Ziegler. And then westward, we'll say even into Mulkeytown is in there. But again, some of the strongest winds, blowing, saw Caleb here, comment just came through. There we go, saying that it's blowing pretty good in Dow right now. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. That is right on the cusp of some of the strongest winds there as this is moving through. So appreciate that report coming through. Again, what we're seeing on radar, we can't always translate it right to the ground, but we know that this storm is likely producing some strong straight line winds. I will tell you what prompted me to kind of run from our vacation Bible school class this evening and then run back home is actually because on the northern side of this. So these are the strong straight line winds. And then we also have a little bit of, let's see here if I can get this sorted out. We had a little bit of rotation on the backside of this. That has since gone away. So that's kind of some good news here, okay? So the main threat this evening is really going to be strong straight line winds. There's kind of what we're looking at from the strong straight line winds. Let's see if I can get that looking a little bit better here. And I know, guys, it's coming in here on a Friday night. There's a lot of folks that have outdoor activities planned. So these are the winds right there coming straight, pretty much right into Elkville, again, the Dowell area. There was a little bit of rotation that would be pretty close to DuQuoin right now, but it's nothing too pronounced. What we were seeing was a surge of winds on the south side, and there it goes. And then trying to develop some rotation here on the north side. Again, that's not too much of a concern at this point. The big concern I've got with this one is the threat for very strong straight line winds, okay? So again, we're looking at, and again, I know that this warning, actually, they took this further to the south, but if you really just put on where this thing is heading, Christopher to Ziegler to Royalton, you guys have some extremely strong straight line winds pushing in those areas, okay? And we're talking about winds that might be upwards of 60 to 70 miles per hour. So it would not be surprising if we saw some trees come down, maybe some power outages here over the next little bit as well. Again, this is, if you're just joining us, this is DuQuoin. So if you're familiar with Southern Illinois, this is the southern part of Perry County. This is Jackson County here. So that Jackson County does include Carbondale, DeSoto, Ava, and then also now into parts of Franklin County and into Williamson County. You guys are all under warnings currently, okay? So that includes Carterville, Heron, Ziegler, Freeman Spur, Hearst, DeSoto, DuQuoin, Elkville, Dowell. Really, Virgins, I think some of the strongest winds might be by you at this point with this one. But again, Christopher, you're technically not in the warning. West Frankfort, you're technically not in the warning. But I would get ready, and if you've got some things outside that you may need to get moved away from trees, or maybe you need to take a car and you need to put it inside a garage or something like that. If you live in West Frankfort, or if you live in Ziegler, if you live in Freeman, Spur, or JC even, or Heron, you may consider doing so, okay? Because again, this thing is going to be moving there here in just a little while. That's what we're tracking right now. Now I want to go and I want to look back to our north and to our west. You guys are going to be kind of looking with this for the first time as well. So we've got some more storms that are forming to our north and west. Those are west of St. Louis. Those are going to be on a similar track to the south and east eventually. And I do think that as we make our way into the overnight hours, the threat, and you can kind of see this boundary that's developed here into Randolph County, close to St. Genevieve, Missouri, and then Chester, and then northward. That might end up being the flow pattern here to the south and east, where we see some of the heaviest rainfall. So we'll say right across the heart of southern Illinois on this map, we may end up seeing some extremely heavy rainfall developing. Again, there is a concern, and quite a concern, of dealing with some significant flooding here as we make our way into the overnight hours. All right, so looks like they've taken the warning out of DuQuoin, and that's really because of this little piece down here to the south. Elkville, Royalton, that's where this thing is heading right now, okay? It's moving through Dow, Elkville, and then again, Mulkeytown sits about right here at 184 and 154. And then over towards Royalton and Ziegler, again, that's where the strongest wind. I think we will likely see some kind of warning possibly moving to the east. I will say that they put a little higher tag on this. So usually when we get severe thunderstorm warnings like you see here on your screen, we'll see severe thunderstorm warnings for winds possibly up to 60 miles per hour. Notice the wind here, max wind gusts. So they're saying, hey, there could be winds up to 70 miles per hour possible with this storm. Seeing a comment come through here from Sadie saying lots and lots of wind right now in DuQuoin. Caleb, thank you for that report. His anemometer, if I can speak, just did 62 miles per hour, okay? So again, that is enough that we're probably going to start seeing some reports of trees and power lines potentially coming through. So that's a indication that, yes, we do have some extremely strong winds with this. In fact, I'm going to pass that along here to the National Weather Service. You thought anemometer was hard to say. Try spelling it. All right, so we got that passed along. So again, anemometer there in DuQuoin just reported a 62 mile per hour gust. So again, that is enough to cause some damage here as this continues to push eastward. Try to answer some comments. If you guys got questions here through this evening hours, yes, I do think that we are going to continue to see some stronger storms, at least here through the early evening hours, and then the threat is going to switch from strong straight line winds with some of these storms to the potential for significant flooding. These are at least some of the areas that yesterday and last night they saw some rain, but nothing like maybe what they saw in southeast Missouri or even areas near the Ohio River in southern Illinois. Areas like Cairo over towards Metropolis. I don't know if you saw that picture I showed earlier today of the washed out culvert there north of Metropolis. So those areas picked up anywhere from 4 to 7 inches of rainfall just last night. And I'm not going to say that that's for sure going to happen tonight, but it's definitely a concern as we make our way into the evening hours, especially as we start to see this another line develop to our north and west. I really do have some concern of watching some of these storms, what we call training, moving over the same areas multiple times and potentially causing some very, very significant flooding. Just a reminder, folks, that I am on Facebook. I'm also on YouTube. So if you are searching for coverage, or if you've got a Roku or something like that, and hey, you don't want to just watch it on your phone, you actually want to watch it on the big screen, you can do that as well. Just right there on YouTube if you just search meteorologist Nick Housen. Again, still showing some signs of some very strong straight line winds. I don't necessarily see... There is some rotation in this, but what you're probably seeing I saw the comment come through, hey, seeing some rotation. More than anything, we're just seeing extremely strong straight line winds with this, okay? If we were to see some rotation, yeah, it would be right back up in here, but there's nothing that's really jumping out at me that's saying that, hey, we're close to seeing any type of tornado or anything like that. That's not really the case here. This is a strong straight line wind maker. Again, Royalton, Hearst, Bush, you guys have got it coming in next. Ziegler, Freeman Spur, and West Frankfort back over towards, say, Johnston City, and then Heron. I think that those are the areas here, kind of right in this corridor, where, and I'll try to draw a storm track here real quick if I can. This thing's moving very quickly as well, so I'm going to take this a little bit further to the east here, I think. We'll just kind of give you an idea. The times may not be super accurate here, but I will tell you that this is kind of the general gist of where this is heading. Let me see if I can put that storm track back on there. So yeah, kind of heading more towards the southeast there. So that's kind of the storm track I've got on there. See, they've got this at 33 miles per hour. Let's see if I can redraw that just a minute here. So those are some of the times. Again, 7:35, so the leading edge of that is just coming into Royalton now. And then Christopher, you're kind of on the northern edge. I really do think some of the strongest winds are probably going to stay south of you if you are in Christopher. However, Ziegler, about 7:41, so here probably in the next 5 minutes or so, we'll see that move in. And then further to the south, you see Freeman Spur, and you see Johnston City here on the list as well, so 7:55. I'd say, honestly, probably put that closer to 7:50, but that's kind of what we're thinking. Good question, Megan. So Megan asking about the tornado threat tonight. We'll go ahead and kind of talk about that here, as I know that there has been some social media buzz about tornadoes tonight. I'm not going to completely rule out a brief spin-up tornado or maybe a tornado warning this evening, but it's really not the main threat. We're not too concerned with tornadoes this evening. It's just not going to be the big threat here. We are mostly concerned with very strong straight line winds and the significant flooding. Those are our two biggest things. All right, so that's what we've got going on right now. And trying to answer as many questions as I can. Asking about Gabby, asking about Harrisburg. Yeah, I think it would. If this thing continues to hold together, and there's really no reason it wouldn't right now, that would be heading towards Harrisburg here in just a bit. Again, moving to the south and east. I'll kind of move my map, maybe zoom it out just a little bit here so you can see. But that would put Harrisburg kind of in there, probably at the end of this. That's at 8:34, so still about an hour or so away, probably before it makes its way there, but it will be pretty close. We are seeing maybe the winds come down just a little bit. This big bright red spot here, I wish my palette was a little different for velocity scans, but that big red spot you see there, that is actually, if I can switch this up just a little bit. That is very strong straight line winds. It's kind of the upper echelon there. As you can see, you're looking at winds estimated from radar. Again, you're kind of looking at it a little bit higher in the sky here, but winds coming in at about 64 miles per hour. Just got a report from somebody on the west side of DuQuoin saying that they've got power outages west of DuQuoin on Highway 152. So that's what we're talking about. Again, we know that this stuff that's coming in is very, very strong. So that is something, again, we're going to continue to track here this evening. Camera you see there in the right side of your screen, that is from Marion, actually looking towards the north and west, I believe. You just kind of barely see the leading edge of that. I'm actually a little surprised that we haven't had a warning yet a little further to the east. Switch back over to velocity here, or reflectivity. Kind of get a better idea on some of the storm tracks here. And yes, it is moving to the south and east, and maybe they're thinking that this is going to kind of form into a complex. Again, I am concerned, especially with this line developing, because I think that, look at it, lift back to the north a little bit. Watch that kind of lift back to the north. So that's going to end up setting up, and I don't think it's going to continue overnight lifting back to the north. So I do have some concern that we're going to see some areas here right across the heart of southern Illinois. Would not be surprising if we end up seeing some spots maybe picking up 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 inches of rainfall overnight tonight. It just would not be a surprise in this type of pattern. I had a question here from Tanya. Is Ziegler under a tornado warning? No, they are not. You are under a severe thunderstorm warning, but you are not under a tornado warning right now. Jana asking, how do I find you on Roku? You'll have to have the YouTube app. And if you just have YouTube and then you just search meteorologist Nick Housen, you should be able to find it under the live tab. I am live right now on both Facebook and on YouTube. The other concern I've got this evening, I'm going to go ahead and kind of send out, if you've got my app, I'm going to send out a push notification on that here in just a few minutes. Just kind of warning about some of the strong winds with this storm as it continues to make its way to the south and east. Also looking for power outages. Again, we know that we've got some power outages that have just been reported in Perry County. That's west of DuQuoin. And it looks like we have quite a few as well in, I'll get this to pull up right. Looks like we have some that are west of DuQuoin, and then we also have quite a few that are showing up in Randolph County as well. So starting to see more and more power outages coming in. Says power went out briefly in Dow, currently back on as of now. You just see this little leading edge. That's the thing that is really driving a lot of this really strong winds right now. It's just that leading edge of this. And yeah, so as we were talking about, right kind of down here in the southern part of this. So Royalton, there it is, right along 149. There's a roundabout right about here, I believe. You're familiar with that kind of the roundabout where 149 meets up with 184 and in that area just north of Ziegler. Just west of Ziegler and north of Royalton. That's kind of what we're looking at right now. If you just look at the motion on this, Again, we've been putting in about 30 miles per hour or so. Took that a little bit further to the south probably, but I want to make sure that I'm getting the back piece of this too, because there is going to be some strong winds, I think, on the back side of this as well. So that kind of gives you an idea again on some of the storm tracks. Had a report, and guys, if you can help me, just one or two of you comment here. I had somebody saying that they're having problems understanding me, saying that it kind of keeps repeating. Yep. Right now, Jennifer, good question. Just tuned in. She says 5 minutes ago. Right now, there's some real heavy rainfall moving through Mount Vernon. These storms that are moving through there are not severe, though. In fact, most of them are not that big of a deal that are moving through Mount Vernon right now. Big concern is a little bit further to the south with this storm. Catherine asking, this is a kind of a question I get quite a bit. Anytime we talk about strong straight line winds, I know I get a lot of questions about May 8th, 2009. This is not like that, okay? This is not likely going to be a derecho, not anything like that. These are just some stronger storms that have some very strong straight line winds. We're not talking about widespread wind damage. We're talking about some scattered storms with maybe some scattered wind damage. Talking about trees, maybe some power lines down as a result. It looks like right now in Randolph County, there's about over 1,000 people without power. Looks like now in Perry County, there's about 300 customers without power on Egyptian. So it looks like in Randolph, it's kind of a mixture between Egyptian and Ameren, and in Perry County right now, it's west, so it'd be out of town. It would be Egyptian. Thank you guys for letting me know that you can hear me. See if we're getting any stronger winds. The good news is I think we're starting to see the winds come down just a little bit on this. Still some very strong straight line winds. In fact, some of the strongest winds blowing hard right now. Debbie's saying blowing real hard right now in Ziegler. So I really think some of the strongest winds, moving into Ziegler, moving into Heron or towards Heron right now, Culp. Let's see here if I can change some. Change my camera up a little bit here. If I can't get any better view, we're kind of looking at that right there into it. So again, this is a view from Marion looking to the north. Nothing really standing out to me. You can kind of see the front edge of the rain right there. So getting a report that's from Guy saying that DuQuoin had some really strong winds as this was moving through. Some really heavy rainfall, it sounds like, but things have kind of started to quiet down. So that's some good news there. Caleb was the one that reported just a little while ago a 62 mile per hour wind gust, and saying that power is now out in that's in Dowell. Again, real close to the Perry-Jackson County line. Dale asking about, said they had over 6 inches of rain last night. Will it be a repeat? Again, one of the things that I think that we've really been kind of chiming on throughout the day today is, yes, there's a chance for strong storms, but the significant flooding is more of a concern with this as it's moving through. Sorry guys, trying to change my camera angle up here. It looks like that's kind of the leading edge. So if we're going to see any strong winds, it's going to be right on the leading edge of this. This is from Marion, looking back right off of I-57, looking back towards the northwest. Still got a couple more warnings here to the north. St. Louis area. Switch over to the St. Louis radar here real quick. Yep, good call. Yep, I said the main concern, can't entirely rule it out, but really the tornado threat tonight, guys, I just wouldn't lose any sleep over it. At this point, I'm not too concerned with the tornado threat. I really do think that we're going to be starting to see some of these storms kind of train, and we may see it actually kind of slide back to the southeast as we go through into the evening hour. So zooming out just a little bit, kind of showing the motion on some of this stuff here. Some of this is moving more west to east. We'll kind of hope that continues. Again, I do have some concern here on the backside of this. So DuQuoin, you guys already picked up maybe an inch of rain. Look what's coming behind this back into Randolph County, though, some really heavy rainfall as well. So that's where we start talking about, the training rain and the potential for significant flash flooding developing. Because I think that we may see another round of this here, even as we make our way into the overnight. We might continue to see showers and storms like this. I just don't think that the severe weather threat is going to be the main story here as we move into the evening hours. Tanya saying it's hitting Ziegler right now. That's that real heavy wind here, probably along with the very heavy rainfall also moving into Ziegler right now. I haven't seen many reports coming through, which is kind of surprising actually, but there is still some strong winds with some of this stuff. Keep looking to see if there's more storms developing out west into parts of Kansas or anything along those lines. We're just trying to figure out exactly where the axis of heaviest rain is going to end up being tonight. We don't know 100% exactly where that's going to be. And it does appear that that's probably going to start shifting south and eastward overnight. But I do think that we are starting to see some of the severe weather threat with this storm kind of starting to come down just a bit. So there you go, another report, no power in Tamaroa. So we've got some power outages now being reported across parts of Perry County in particular. Julie asking about multiple rounds tonight. Yeah, there is going to be multiple rounds. I don't think that every round that moves through is going to be severe, and I don't think that that's really necessarily going to be the case. However, I do think that some of these are going to really produce some torrential rainfall tonight. See if they extend this warning at all further eastward. All right, so we do have, looks like we do have a report, at least some pictures to pass along here. Working on getting that up for you guys, but again, continuing to track some strong straight line winds. Those will be moving into Heron and Freeman Spur right now, heading towards really Carterville, Marion, Pittsburgh, Corinth area, northward to JC as well. Figure out the easiest way to get this logged in here, guys. Apologize. All right, so this is a picture that just came in. This is from south of DuQuoin. And this picture, it looks like, is from Gas Plant Road on the south end of DuQuoin. So there's some of the damage. That's why we've got some power outages that are out. So it looks like 2 poles were snapped, it says. That's coming in from the emergency manager of the city of DuQuoin. So appreciate that one coming through. So there it is. There's some wind damage there. Again, that's just on the south side of DuQuoin. You can see some other poles maybe leaning in addition to maybe some tree limbs that are down there. All right. So we are starting to see at least some of the wind again kind of relax on this. So I have not seen that they're going to issue. Well, it looks like maybe a new warning is just now coming down. My phone just went off here. Waiting for that to plot in here. It looks like we've got a brand new severe thunderstorm warning that is going to be issued for parts of Franklin, Jackson, and Williamson. So I bet you that this is going to be a pretty big warning that comes down through here. Did we get that to plot in? There it is. Okay, so there's the new warning that was just issued. That does include Marion, does include Pittsburgh, does include McCanda, Carbondale, Carterville as well. Heron, so some of the strongest winds with this. And notice the line on this. Kind of everything they're working on is trying to slide to the south and east. So there's the new warning that was just issued on this. I'll go ahead and plot that in. Putting up to 70-mile-per-hour winds on this warning in particular, moving at about 30 miles per hour. So we'll go ahead and take what they're looking at here. Flash of lightning. I still want to kind of take it a little bit further eastward. But that's what they're looking at right now, is looking at a new severe thunderstorm warning, again, issued for far southwest parts of Franklin County, much of Williamson County in that, Marion, Craneville, Carterville, Heron, up to Johnston City as well, also in that. So they just lost power in Carterville. It just came back on. Looks like, sounds like a tree across Chamness Road and Royalton. I'm going to pass that one along as well. She's between Ashton's in between Heron and Johnston City and saying that the wind is crazy. Yep, Mary, you got that on there. All right. Tree down across the road in Royalton, so we'll pass that along as well to the National Weather Service. Appreciate you guys passing along those reports as we can. Saying power's flickering now in Heron, waiting for Franklin County again. Yep. So right now, if you're in Benton, or if you're in Coelho, or if you're in Christopher, if you're on Wren Lake, or if you're in Cesar, or Whittington, Ewing, Thompsonville, Aiken, those areas that are further eastward in the county and further northward really in the county as well. This storm that's moving in your way is not severe. Okay. The strongest part of this storm is going to stay well south of you. West Frankfort, you're not technically in a warning. However, I think that there is still a chance you deal with some really strong winds as this thing moves in. Okay, so West Frankfort to Johnston City, downward to Marion. See, notice the go ahead and push this back in here. Yes, everything is kind of moving south and eastward. That's for sure, but there is still an eastward part of that, in particular with some of the strong winds. Wind came through Murfreesboro. That was probably the outflow boundary. Yep. Keep watching this storm as it moves. South and eastward. Yeah, everything indicates that we're going to continue to see some of this stuff up to our north form into a big line and then work its way southward too. That's kind of what everything's indicating, is that everything that you see towards St. Louis kind of congeals and then moves south and eastward. We'll have to see if that happens, because if you watch the motion on this, there's still a lot of eastward movement. Not saying it's not going to happen, but we will have to watch how far north some of this stuff ends up going. Again, if you are joining me, there is a new severe thunderstorm warning. That new severe thunderstorm warning is for, looks like somebody's moving my camera there. New severe thunderstorm warning does include much of eastern parts of Jackson County, and then also over towards, say, much of Williamson County is also included in that. Jerry's saying, hey, lots of heavy rain there in Ziegler, but no real wind. Okay, good to know. Ashley, I would say in Elkville right now, you're kind of in between. You're going to get some more really heavy rainfall, but the severe weather threat right now, at least, is really past you at this point. Sharon's saying lots of Harrisburg folks in here. Yes, we've had a lot of folks join us from Harrisburg. We appreciate, no matter where you're joining from, we appreciate all you guys. And if this storm does kind of hold, I do think that eventually, just watch the motion on it. It's going to be more of the stuff that's going through Benton and West Frankfort. That's what's probably going to end up over towards Galatia and Harrisburg here in just a bit. We're going to slide this back just a little bit. Jerry from YouTube saying that lots of wind and heavy rain right now moving through Johnston City. Saying that Taylor was saying in DeSoto that she had lots of real strong winds, but now it's not doing anything. So we've seen that quite a bit. Mary saying that wind is now in Cambria. So we are seeing quite a bit on the front edge there. Again, I still see some signs that maybe this has lost, not quite as strong. It's still got some strong winds. That's actually going through Marion right now. Kind of leading edge of this thing. Kind of see the clouds there. That's kind of rain cooled air getting pushed out ahead. So that's not necessarily the... Yeah. It's not so much that we are starting to see some outflow boundary kind of get pushed out. It's not necessarily associated with the actual storm. So that's actually some good news there. So what we're seeing here on the front end of this, what's moving through JC and White Ash and then approaching Marion right there, that part, get this update. just kind of the leading edge here, is actually rain-cooled air getting pushed out ahead. So that's a sign that maybe the winds have come down just a little bit. Again, not nearly as strong. Tony saying that she's in JC, not too bad. Strong winds in Heron. Looks like the Braden, appreciate that report coming in, said 45 mile per hour gust is the strongest gust that they had in Du Quoin. Thanks, Braden, appreciate that. So I'm going to show you here real quick. I just had a comment on one of the warnings that came through. Go back to the camera here. What I want to show you is that we get a lot of reports this time of year of what we call scary looking clouds, okay? And that doesn't mean we don't want you to send in your reports, but if you see all these little things kind of hanging down, it's what we call scud. Okay. What it basically is rain-cooled air getting pushed out. That's cooler air getting pushed, and the warm, humid air out ahead of that kind of riding in, and it's condensing. But you can see all the kind of the jagged edge there on the cloud line. And again, we call that scud. And it can, if you look at that one, if you're just looking at it, it could kind of look like a funnel. But there's no real concern when you see something like that. Again, at this point, we're not concerned with tornadoes from this one at all. So what you're seeing is scud. Check the lightning on this too. Troy saying Big Limb down in Heron right now. We had some spam. Michael saying that he's got a lot of wind right now coming through as well. Tracy asking where that view is. It's actually from atop the Marion Water Tower. We appreciate our partners, Northbridge IT service there. You can see that they provide us with the camera. So that's where the view is from atop the water tower, right on I-57 there on the north side of Marion. No, it is. You're right. Actually, it is losing some of its strength. We're not seeing as much lightning with this. It just earlier it had a tremendous amount of lightning. And that's not so much the case now. Joanne saying lost power at Carterville for a couple of moments. Generator is now running at the junior high. Yeah, there's a little bit of lightning here on the north side of this thing. You can kind of look back to the north here. Even on the back side of this thing, where we were seeing over towards, say, DeSoto and Murfreesboro and areas like that that's coming in, it's got some gusty winds with it, but it's not crazy right now. It's nothing like what we saw there come through the south at the side of Du Quoin. And really wonder if we can take this back and kind of look a little bit closer at that. You can kind of watch it all just kind of as it moves to the south and east. Yeah, agreed, Braden. It had a pretty good outflow boundary for a little while, but it definitely lost some steam as it kind of crossed over 14. I do agree with that. Ryan saying no sound. Do you still have sound, guys? Make sure that you do. Let me know if you can't hear me, but I haven't really had too many people saying that they can't hear me. But for those of you asking about what we're going to see the rest of the night, I'll kind of dive into that, since this storm, in my opinion, is losing some of its severe characteristics, and really losing the reason that I broke into programming, or broke in this evening and decided to go live. I always want to say broke into programming, but break into programming, we don't do that anymore. Here in the independent world, we don't have to worry about that. All right, so there are some more storms to our north and to our west, up closer towards the St. Louis area. Notice there's a lot of northward motion on those. I do expect that eventually we see that kind of form into a little bit of a line and then track the south and east. This is actually the activity up towards St. Louis is kind of what I was expecting. This stuff that came out ahead is actually a little early, so we'll have to watch some of this stuff again. I really think that the two concerns tonight, you can see kind of it forming again right back here over towards Bloomsdale, Missouri, and back over towards St. John as well. This line is what we call an outflow boundary, and that's lingering. We might start seeing some more storms kind of develop near that, and then work their way south and eastward across southern Illinois. So that's really going to be the concern. So last night, some of the heaviest rain was from about Cairo over towards Metropolis and Paducah. I do think that the threat for some of the heaviest rain is north this evening. So I really do think it's going to be across the heart of southern Illinois, 13, 14, Route 13, 14, and 15, basically from I-64 to 13. That's where I would expect maybe some of the heaviest rain to occur through tonight with, again, training thunderstorms. So thunderstorms moving over the same spot multiple times. Joe saying the Cardinals game just went into a rain delay. I bet. Boy, I bet they did. Back over to this camera here quick. Here's the front edge of that. We're moving into Marion right now. You see some raindrops on the camera. Kind of see the camera bouncing in the wind there too, just a little bit. But definitely some of the heavier rain there starting. And honestly, some of the heaviest rain's probably going to end up being north of this. But kind of moving it back and forth. Sorry, guys. Yep, replying, those were not tornadoes that you were seeing earlier, what we call scud. Cindy saying just started there in West Frankfort. That's the heavy rain. Yep. I think what I'm going to do, guys, is I think, since I'm not too concerned with this storm coming in, okay, I'm going to leave it up. I'm going to leave radar up. I'm going to leave everything on, everything running. I appreciate everyone, and we'll continue to keep an eye on these storms as we make our way into the overnight hours. What I plan on doing is I am going to likely, yeah, I'm not seeing any reports come through. Let me go back over real quick before we do this. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to let everything kind of play out. Again, what we'll do is if there's any concern or we feel that there's a concern, I'll hop back on here. But again, I really do think that the threat, at least right now, for severe weather, let's see if we get any more warnings coming up, but I think the threat for severe weather is starting to come down just a bit, at least for the immediate future. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I am going to leave radar up just like this. I'm going to turn my audio off, so the radar will be running. Everything's going to stay live. If there's a concern, I'll break back in. Okay, I'm going to leave the camera up so you can see that as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my camera and my audio off for a bit. Again, if there is severe weather, or your phone goes off and hey, there's another warning. If there's a big concern, I'll try to jump back on here. I'm actually going to go spend a little bit of time with my family tonight and this evening. So that's kind of the plan. But again, we've got you covered right here. The Nick Hausen weather app, of course, can send you alerts for free on your phone or on your tablet. And we'll go from there. Hopefully it's we cross our fingers, right? I don't want tornadoes. I don't want severe weather. In fact, prefer definitely the opposite, but we'll keep an eye on the storms as we make our way into the evening hours. and overnight. And if there's any big concern, again, I'll hop back on here. But in the meantime, I'll leave the stream up again. I'm just going to turn off my audio.